Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Last August, I put out a video on the Idaho 4 murder case that hardly anybody saw, but I think it's a good one, showing the timeline of the case, and I think it gives people a better perspective of the entire case. So if you could hit that like button, I would really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell and all videos. Apparently, if more people had hit that, they may have seen it back in August of 2023. All right, so thank you very much for watching, and here is the video right now. On November 13, 2022, a quadruple homicide occurred at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, just off the University of Idaho campus. Killed in the incident were Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Madison Mogan. The two surviving roommates were Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen. Both Dylan and Bethany were in their rooms during the time of the murders. On June 23, 2022, Brian Kohberger opens his cell phone account in Pullman, Washington, with his new number ending in 8458. On August 16, 2022, law enforcement shows up to 1122 King Road regarding a noise complaint and gives Kaylee Gonzalez a verbal warning. On August 21, 2022, between 10:34 p.m. and 11:35 p.m., Kohberger's phone utilized cellular resources that provide coverage to 1122 King Road. At 11:37 p.m. that same night, Latah County Sheriff Deputy Corporal Duke's body camera and report showed Brian Kohberger was detained as part of a traffic stop that occurred in Moscow, Idaho. Kohberger was the sole occupant and was driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plate LFZ 8649, set to expire on November 30th, 2022. Kohberger provided his phone number, which ended in 8458. Kohberger's phone utilized resources consistent with this traffic stop at Farm Road and Pullman Highway. On September 1st, 2022, at 8:50 p.m., law enforcement showed up to 1122 King Road again regarding a noise complaint. Law enforcement speaks to Madison Mogan on the phone. Then at 12:40 a.m. on September 2nd, the following morning, law enforcement shows up yet again to 1122 King Road almost 4 hours later for another noise complaint. This time, law enforcement speaks with Xana Kernodle. On September 23, 2022, Brian Kohberger, who is a teacher's assistant, has an altercation with a faculty member. On October 3, 2022, Kohberger meets with Professor Snyder to discuss norms of professional behavior. On October 14, 2022, Brian Kohberger was detained at another traffic stop by a WSU officer. Kohberger was the sole occupant, driving a 2015 white Elantra, plates LFZ 8649. On October 21, 2022, Professor Snyder emailed Kohberger about how he has failed to meet the expectations of a teacher's assistant. On November 2, 2022, the graduate director met with Kohberger to discuss an improvement plan. On November 3, 2022, Kohberger agrees to the improvement plan via email. Brian Kohberger's phone utilized the same cellular resources as 1122 King Road at least 12 times prior to November 13, 2022. All but one of these occasions were in the late evening hours. From 9 p.m. on November 12, 2022 to 1:45 a.m. on November 13, 2022, Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle were attending a Sigma Chi fraternity party at 735 Nez Perce Drive. Bethany Funk estimated that Ethan and Xana returned to the King Road residence at 1:45 a.m. Ethan did not live there. Between 10 p.m. on November 12, 2022 and 1:30 a.m. on November 13, 2022, Kaylee and Madison were at the Corner Club in downtown Moscow, Idaho. Not long after that, Kaylee and Madison went to the Grub Truck at 318 Main Street in downtown Moscow for a late-night snack. At 1:43 a.m. on November 13, 2022, Madison and Kaylee arrive at the Grub Truck and leave about 10 minutes later. At 1:53 a.m. Kaylee and Madison leave the grub truck with the food they purchased and received a ride home from a private party. At 1:56 a.m., Kaylee and Madison arrive at 1122 King Road, their residence. At 2 a.m., all occupants of the residence are home, according to Bethany Funk. Between 2:26 a.m. and 2:52 a.m., Kaylee Gonzalez calls her boyfriend Jack 7 times. Madison Mogan tried calling Jack 3 times as well, from 2:44 a.m. to 2:52 a.m. Kaylee's boyfriend did not answer any of these phone calls. In between those phone calls at 2:42 a.m., cell phone data records obtained via the FBI Cellular Analysis Survey Team, or CAS, showed Kohberger's phone utilizing cell resources consistent with Brian Kohberger being near his residence. At 2:44 a.m., Kohberger's white Elantra is seen on camera traveling north on Nevada Street in Pullman, Washington. At 2:47 a.m., Kohberger's phone utilizes cellular resources that provide coverage to southeast of his residence, showing he has left his residence and is heading south in Pullman. At 2:47 a.m. as well, Kohberger's phone stops reporting to the network, which means he turned his phone off or put his phone in airplane mode, or his phone was in the area without coverage. He is in Pullman, and there is cell phone coverage, therefore it is most likely it was turned off or in airplane mode. Given the fact that Kohberger's white Elantra was traveling north on Nevada Street at 2:44, it's likely that he pulled over and then at 2:47 a.m. he turned off his phone. At 2:53 a.m., Kohberger's white Elantra is seen on camera traveling southeast on Nevada Street in Pullman, Washington, towards SR 270, which connects to Moscow, Idaho. At 3:26 a.m., Kohberger's white Elantra is in Moscow, Idaho, driving in the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive, heading west. At 3:28 a.m., Kohberger's white Elantra is spotted on surveillance camera at the A&W restaurant at Steiner and Idaho State Highway 95. This video showed the vehicle did not have a front license plate. And as you remember, vehicles in Pennsylvania do not have to have a front license plate. At 3:29 a.m., Kohberger's white Elantra enters the area of 1122 King Road. Kohberger's white Elantra makes 3 initial passes. At 3:31 a.m. on pass number 1, Kohberger's white Elantra travels down Queen Road and then behind 500 Queen Road and then around in front of 1122 King Road and then out of the area via Wallanta Drive. And then at 3:39 a.m. on pass number 2, Brian Kohberger's white Elantra travels down Queen Road again, and then behind 500 Queen Road, and then around in front of 1122 King Road, and then out of the area via Wallanta Drive. Then at 3:57 a.m., Brian Kohberger's white Elantra makes pass number 3. It travels down Queen Road, and then behind 500 Queen Road, and then around in front of 1122 King Road, and then out of the area via Wallanta Drive. Now that pass takes double the time as the first one, being at 3:31, 3:39, and this one is at 3:57. So it's possible that on this route he either waited longer by watching the residents at that time, and that might be the time that the DoorDash driver showed up. It also could mean that he drove farther away and came back. We don't know, but he does finish the pass at around 3:57. At approximately 4 a.m., DoorDash delivers a meal to Xander Kernodle at the residence 1122 King Road. Kohberger's white Elantra makes a 4th and final pass. At 4:06 a.m., the white Elantra travels down Queen Road and then behind 500 Queen Road, number 52, and turns around and goes west down Queen Road towards the intersection of King and Queen Road. All of these actions are filmed on a surveillance camera mounted at 1330 Linda Lane, and the footage of the white Elantra matches the probable cause document perfectly. At 4:07 a.m., the white Elantra does a three-point turn at the intersection of Queen and King Road, and then continues back east down Queen Road, reinitiating pass number 4 by traveling down Queen Road and then behind 500 Queen Road. At 4:08 a.m., pass number 4 completes near or in the parking area adjacent to 1122 King Road and is parked there for approximately 12 minutes, in which time Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez all lost their lives to a psychopath using a sharp force instrument. At approximately 4 a.m., Dylan Mortensen says she awoke to the sound of what she thought was Kaylee playing with their dog. I believe this time is more likely to be 4:09 or 4:10 a.m., and that is the time that Kohberger is attacking Kaylee and Madison. At 4:12 a.m., Xana is using TikTok, and Dylan hears who she thinks is Kaylee say, "There's someone here." But this could have been Xana, since she was still awake, having just received the DoorDash. Dylan looks out her door, but sees nobody. Dylan hears someone say, "It's okay, I'm here to help." That is likely Kohberger. At 4:17 a.m., the security camera located at 1112 King Road, which is directly adjacent and to the northwest of the crime scene property at 1122 King Road, picked up what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. At around the same time, at 4:17 a.m., Dylan opens her door for the third time after she heard that very same crying or whimpering sound. She saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. Dylan described the person as 5'10" or taller, a male not very muscular but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The person walked through the kitchen and out the back sliding glass doors. At approximately 4:20 a.m., Kohberger's white Elantra departs the King Road residence area at a high rate of speed. Kohberger's white Elantra heads south on Walenta Drive. At approximately 4:25 a.m., Kohberger exits the area at Conestoga Drive and Palusa River Drive. At 4:48 a.m., a very significant cell phone ping occurs when Kohberger's phone utilizes resources that provide coverage to Idaho State Highway 95 south of Moscow, Idaho, near Blaine, Idaho. Between 4:50 a.m. and 5:26 a.m., Kohberger's phone utilizes cellular resources consistent with his phone traveling south on Highway 95 to Genesee. It then travels west to Uniontown, Idaho, and then north to Pullman, Washington. At 5:25 a.m., Kohberger's white Elantra is observed on multiple cameras returning to Pullman, Washington. It's seen at 1300 Johnson Road, and that very same camera watches his vehicle travel north on Bishop Boulevard and then northwest on SR 270. At 5:27 a.m., Kohberger's white Elantra is observed traveling north on Stadium Way at Nevada Street, Grimes Street, Wilson Road, and Cougar Way. At 5:30 a.m., Kohberger's phone utilizes cellular resources that provide coverage to Pullman, Washington. This cellular data is consistent with the video evidence of Kohberger's car returning back to his residence. At 9 a.m., Kohberger's phone leaves Pullman, Washington. Between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m., Kohberger's phone utilizes resources that cover the 1122 King Road residence. At 9:32 a.m., Kohberger's phone utilizes resources consistent with his phone traveling back to the area of his residence. At 12:36 p.m. on November 13, 2022, Kohberger's phone utilizes cell resources that provide coverage to Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand at 810 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington. The UF Chef store, located at 820 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington, which is adjacent to Kate's Cup of Joe, showed Kohberger's vehicle drive past Kate's Cup of Joe at a time consistent with the use of the cell resources of Kate's Cup of Joe. At 12:46 p.m., Kohberger's phone utilizes cell resources in the area of Albertson's grocery store at 400 Bridge Street in Clarkston, Washington. Kohberger is seen on camera exit his white Elantra at 12:49 p.m. Between 12:50 p.m. and 1:04 p.m., Kohberger is seen on internal surveillance cameras walking through the store and purchasing unknown items at the checkout. Although I'm quite sure law enforcement has an idea of exactly what he purchased since the time this probable cause document was written. At 1:04 p.m., Kohberger leaves Albertsons. Between 5:32 p.m. and 5:36 p.m., Kohberger's phone utilized cellular resources that provide coverage to Johnson, Washington. Between 5:36 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., the phone stops reporting to the network. This is consistent with Kohberger's phone being in the area that his phone traveled immediately after the homicide. At 4 p.m. on November 13, 2022, Corporal Brett Payne and Sergeant Blaker responded to 1122 King Road to assist with scene security and processing the crime scene associated with the 4 homicides. A K-Bar USMC Eagle Globe and Anchor insignia knife sheath was found under a quilt on the bed next to the right side of Madison Mogen's body on the 3rd floor in Madison Mogen's room. On November 14, 2022, Kohberger's phone connected to a cell tower that provides service to Moscow, but his phone wasn't in Moscow. So maybe he didn't drive all the way into the city but got close and his phone pinged off one of the towers. On November 18, 2022, Brian Kohberger registered his vehicle and later received Washington plate CFB 8708. Prior to this, it was registered in Pennsylvania, which don't require front license plates. On November 21, 2022, it was Brian Kohberger's birthday. On November 25, 2022, Moscow Police Department put out a bolo for a white Hyundai Elantra. On 11/29 at 12:28 a.m., WSU police officer Daniel Tiengo queried white Elantras registered at WSU. He located a white Elantra with Pennsylvania plate LFZ 8649. The vehicle was registered to Brian Kohberger. Kohberger lived at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment 201. This is 3/4 of a mile from the intersection of Stadium Way and Cougar Way. On 11/29 at 12:58 a.m., WSU officer Curtis Whitman was looking for a white Honda Elantra and located a 2015 Hyundai Elantra at 1630 Northeast Valley Road in Pullman, Washington, in the parking lot of 1630 Northeast Valley Road. The plates were ran, and it returned to Brian Kohberger with a Washington tag. License showed Kohberger is 6 feet tall and weighs 185 pounds. The photo also indicated Kohberger had bushy eyebrows. This matches statements made by Dylan Mortensen. On December 7, 2022, Kohberger met with Snyder and Dr. Willits to discuss the progress, and they noted that there was some progress. On December 9, 2022, Kohberger had another altercation with Professor Snyder. On 12/11/2022, Kohberger was emailed about a meeting request by department head. On 12/13/2022, Kohberger's Elantra was captured on a license plate reader in Loma, Colorado, on his trip back to Pennsylvania for winter break. On 12/15/2022, Spokane County Medical Examiner Veena Singh determined that the wounds to the victims were caused by sharp force injuries. At 10:42 a.m. on December 15, 2022, law enforcement queried Kohberger's license in Hancock County, Indiana. Brian's father was in the vehicle at the time. At 2:26 p.m. on December 16, 2022, surveillance video showed Kohberger's Elantra in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. The sole occupant was Brian Kohberger. Brian Kohberger's parents live in Albrightsville. On December 19, 2022, Kohberger met with department head, and Kohberger was terminated from his position as a teacher's assistant in the doctoral program effective December 31, 2022. They likely met on Zoom since Kohberger was in Pennsylvania. On December 23, 2022, investigators received historical phone records for Kohberger's phone. Those are the records that were used throughout this timeline. On December 27, 2022, investigators' surveillance began on 119 Lambsden Drive, which is Kohberger's parents' house. Investigators observed Brian Kohberger walking near this residence. Additionally, Kohberger's vehicle is still believed to be on the premises. Investigators are also monitoring Kohberger's cellular phone, which appears to be in the same vicinity of this residence. On December 28, 2022, Kohberger's vehicle is observed traveling through Monroe County and arriving back at his residence. On December 28, 2022, Pennsylvania State Police was requested to assist the Moscow Police and the FBI. On December 30, 2022, law enforcement searched Kohberger's residence, retrieving a Defiant silver flashlight, 4 medical-style gloves, white Arizona Jean Company large t-shirt, Champion WSU Cougar large black sweatshirt, a pair of black and white size 13 Nike shoes, a pair of black Under Armour socks, Under Armour black large shorts, Under Armour black boxer large, and 1 buckle swab. I believe that Brian Kohberger is 100% guilty of the murders in the Idaho 4 murder case. After watching this video, tell me what your thoughts are on the case in the comment section below the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there.